What's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Reg. Joined today with me is another very, very special guest with her beautiful purple background. I love it. She's shining over there. Miss Debbie London.
Yes.
All right, I wanted to make sure. I've been messing up people's names, so I try to make sure I pronounce it right before I get on here. But how you doing today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I brought you into this platform because I got a chance to read over your story, and it's amazing. And anytime that someone has the audacity and the courage to actually get their story out there to help improve other people's lives, I love to make them, or not even make them, to ask them to come on the platform and share their story. So take it away. What made you get into mental health? Just what's your background, your story, and everything?
Well, growing up, I grew up in a dysfunctional household, and in a dysfunctional family, but it shaped my very personality in many ways. So by the time that I graduated from high school, I was a frustrated and angry young lady. And I was focused on, why are people the way they are, based on my family interactions, and that burning desire to figure out what makes people do the crap they do. I was always in search of a deeper understanding of everything. So I went to college and I got my bachelor's in psychology, and that started my mental health path. I was going to get my master's. My ultimate goal was to become a psychologist. But when I went to get my master's as a licensed professional counselor, I realized after the first year of that program that this is not the manner in which I want to help people. I want more freedom in my approach. And nothing, I love therapists. I love psychologists, psychiatrists, amazing, amazing, amazing people, not taking anything away from them. But for me personally, I want freedom in my approach to helping people, which is why I put out my books. But anyways, just being on that search for a deeper understanding of why people are the way they are, and just working in different facilities, and just getting that basic mental health foundation through my professional career. I was like, yep, I'm supposed to be helping people. I don't know in what capacity. And then a few years ago, because I've been running from writing for so long, I was like, you're supposed to be writing your book. And it's kind of turned into there. And now I realize, this is how I'm going to help people, just in my own way. And my tagline is transforming with transparency. So I'm helping people in their lives by being transparent about my own struggles that I've had and sharing how I've overcome them. And that's how I've gotten to where I am.
No, everything you just said resonated with me because I studied communication in college, and I always, like you said, I wanted to understand why people talk the way they do, just understanding people. That's how I just look at communication. And once I stepped into the mental health realm, I didn't want to be in the psychiatrist, psychoanalysis, that therapist type of way. So like you said, salute to those people. They serve a purpose and they're there for that reason. But I know for me, what I'm trying to do as far as my tagline is sharing therapeutic stories. Everybody don't relate to that type of counseling and conversation and stuff like that. So to me, that made a thing in my mind, so do they not deserve to have that same type of help because they don't want to go that route? And it's you know what, like you just said, I gotta find my own way of helping people in that same manner to give them the type of help that I know that they need. So like I said, I salute you. What type of things did you see in your family that made you want to get into that field? With specific examples?
I saw a lot of physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse. Those things alone, dare I say spiritual abuse as well. And those things really, even from being a toddler, they really made me have a very skewed view on what love was, love of self, as well, what relationships should look like, how interactions should go. So it created a strong person in me, even as a toddler, because the women in my family are more docile and calm. And I saw, well, the women that are like this are getting abused. They're getting beat and they're getting, belittled. And so for so on. So surely I must be loud and I must be opinionated and I must be all these things to not have that happen to me. And there were moments where mainly certain men in my family would try to quiet that voice in me because, by saying, oh, you're not ladylike, oh, you have too much mouth, oh, it's this, it's that, and the third. But they wanted me to be like the women that they were abusing. But they knew, and I know that protected me because they knew, okay, we can't do that to her. But what I am going to try to do is break her down and make her feel, less than what she is. And this is with people who are my flesh and blood that are doing this. But, by the grace of God, I was able to overcome that and see now, oh, okay, this is why they were doing what they were doing. But I realized how it played a huge, huge factor, even in my romantic relations, because the men I started to date, and, this kind of, I guess we'll break all that down later, but it even played a role into the men that I dated later. And I realized in hindsight, oh crap, I dated men that I didn't view as strong because strength I associated with abuse and what I witnessed growing up. So I always wore the pants in my relationships. I was the, because I'm an alpha male already. I mean, not alpha male, alpha female already. But I realized that was a part of that shaping and defense mechanisms and everything else growing up. Like, okay, I have to be this way and nobody will ever put their hands to me. Nobody will ever disrespect. Nobody will ever do X, Y, and Z. But I still wasn't getting what I needed in my romantic relationships because things were still off balance. And my reason for attracting certain people was misguided based on what I witnessed growing up. I hope all of that makes sense.
No, I was actually, the next thing I was going to ask you, or maybe a statement was, I find that, like, for example, you either follow the direct path that someone set for you, or you, because it's something you've seen growing up, or you either rebel against it because you don't want to become of it. And I've seen a lot of like drinking, alcoholism, smoking, everything growing up. And I'm not saying that I never dabbled in it, especially in college and stuff like that. But I find that it deterred me away from it, as opposed to some people, they dwell right into it and go into that path of following that same situation over and over and over, repeating that same cycle over and over. So I guess I just wanted to make that statement. But I had this conversation a long time ago with someone about like an alpha female usually attracts like it's always got to be an alpha and then I forgot the other word, but like a laid back person. Do you think you could have ever been with another alpha? Because the way I broke it down is either you're going to be like a Jay-Z and Beyonce, there are two alpha people, or you're going to be like a Barack and Michelle, where one person is letting the other person go up, but they still have their role as well. So do you find that play a role with you? Like, would you ever be with the alpha?
I would be with an alpha, but this is so funny. And I want to touch on something else after this too, because it all ties in, all of it relates. But I think at this point in my life, especially after being divorced, and this is the most self-aware I have been in my entire life. This is the most I have ever loved myself in my entire life, where I am in this moment. And I need someone who can properly lead me. So whatever that looks like, that's what I want. Someone who can properly lead me and bring balance to me. They don't have to be outgoing and, crazy like me. They just have to have the ability to assert themselves, to lead, to know what they want, to be confident, to be secure within who they are, the ability to be held accountable, things like that. But I'm at a point where I don't even have an idea of what the person I want or what they should be. I'm literally like, God, you got that. Because when I had my list, and I've had people like meet my list that I created post-divorce, and I've had people meet everything on that list, and they were still horrible for me. So I stray away from saying what will work for me and what wouldn't. I'm going to let God bring me whoever that person is, because he would know better than even I would.
Right.
They would have to be able to lead me for sure. I'm not going to take on the role of.
Is that what you say? It will tie into it?
Oh, well, what you were speaking about, as far as repeating things or rebelling against it, that's exactly what I break down in detail in my first book, which is Residue: Surviving and Overcoming the Stains of Generational Curses and Soul Ties.
Mm-hmm.
Generational curses, I talk about the different types of generational curses that you can have. And it's exactly what you said. It's either the ones that you repeat or the ones that you create in an effort to get away, from the ones that are already in place. So I really, really go in about that in my first book. And it's such it will forever be an interesting topic to me because it's just so real. And I've had many people who read my first book read and be like, dang, the stuff I thought was normal in my life and in my family, I realize it's toxic as hell after reading this, because it's like, well, everybody in my family, does this, but it's a negative trait to have, but you don't realize it's generationally, passed down. And it's a link there, and it's up to somebody to stand up and say, nah, we stopping here. And especially being a mother of two, that has been my ultimate goal. Like, oh, no. My babies will know who they are. They will, love themselves. They will know what their worth is early on. I will always build them up. They will have balance. They will have stability, emotional stability, spiritual stability, all of that stuff. And I just realized how important it is. And as a mother who's so aware of these things, I'm like, nah, to the generational stuff. But in order for me to make sure that link remains broken is by keeping myself mentally healthy and by checking myself and surrounding myself with people who constantly hold me accountable and refine me. As it says, iron sharpens iron. All of those things are so, so important because I don't think people realize if you don't get your stuff together, you are going to pass your same crap, your unresolved stuff to your children. It's going to be just an ongoing cycle. Somebody has to stand up and say no more. And that goes back into mental health and caring for self and wanting to be better, to be different, and to, go a different path.
Do you find it hard to introduce the topic of mental health to your kids? Or if you are doing it, how are you doing it? Because I struggle. I got 2 kids of my own, and I struggle with like trying to make it like digestible for someone that age, as far as like discussing certain things so that they know that it's okay to feel sad, or you get what I'm saying, especially as a young man.
I absolutely understand what you're saying. I always said to myself, when I have children, I'm going to keep it real with them. And I have done just that. Oh, and of course I do in a way that's on their level. For example, my oldest is 6 because my daughter's 2. But I make sure I talk to my kids like they're people. And what I mean by talking to them like they're people, let me give an example to show the contrast. So when I was growing up, anytime there were issues, even though I'm seeing these issues, I'm seeing this dysfunction, I'm seeing all this crap happen, I was always told, get out of grown folks' business. Oh, children are to be seen and not heard, so forth and so on. That is toxic. Really that is absolutely toxic. So my son's a little wiser than his years. It's like he's been here before. But when my son asks me questions, for example, like about his father and I make sure to tell him, mommy and daddy will not be together ever, ever again. But that doesn't change how much we love you and how much we care about you, because there was a moment where he had a breakdown about the divorce, and this plays into the emotions part too. When my son just started crying one night, I just want y'all to be together and blah, 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 blah. I said, baby, cry. That's okay. And I comforted him. I said, let all that out. Feel that. Feel that in this moment. It's okay to feel sad that we aren't together anymore. It's okay to feel hurt, but we love you so much. And then, I'm grateful that our co-parenting situation is in a healthy space, because I just called his dad. It was like 11 o'clock at night and said, hey, Carson's crying. This is going on. Can you please reassure him of the love that we have for him as his parents, and that although we're not together, we are here for him, and that doesn't change how we feel about him. And then, with my professional background, being in mental health and dealing with families, I always noticed that a lot of kids would somehow internalize their parents being divorced. They would internalize that as, oh, if I was better, if I behaved better, then my parents would have stayed together. And, we made sure I discussed those things with my ex-husband. And we also share that with our son, like, hey, you did nothing wrong for this to happen. This is between your father and I. We love you, and we know this will be a healthier environment if we weren't together, and we want to raise you in the most healthy space possible.
Right.
And then if he's like, well, I don't understand, I was like, feel free. And I always encourage myself, you can ask me anything. Let's talk about it, whatever it is that you want to know. So we've created this space of, oh, okay, it's okay for me to cry. It's okay
right.
feel. So I never tell my son, man up. God damn, I hate that. Like, don't do. I hate when people do that to their children, especially their sons. Me and my ex-husband have never, when he's crying, man up, stop all that crying. No, when he cries, it's okay, baby. You can, now if he's whining, that's different. It's like, hush all that whining up. But if it's crying out of emotion or feeling, no, please feel all that in this moment and release it. And that's what I try to do. There have been moments with my son, because we live in a mainly white area, but where my son has felt inadequate because, like, hey, mommy, I just want to be around more people that look like me. And I don't know if he's experienced prejudice or something, or he's beginning to see the differences as far as privilege and not privilege and whatever, like, but he can't articulate it because he's 6. Right. And I have my son doing affirmations every single morning. And the first one, every morning, I am a king. I am beautiful and brown. I am confident. I have an amazing imagination. And we just keep going and going to the point where if we don't do it anymore, he's like, Mom, where are my affirmations at? Like it's that serious. And I do that to get it in his and his baby sister's mind, who they are. And it's okay to express themselves and all that stuff. So, and to that, with kids, I have a kids brand coming out. If not by December, early spring, that is here to alleviate those emotional things or to help open the discussion for parents like us to their kids about certain things and affirming themselves. And it's okay to cry. And, oh, mommy and daddy don't live together anymore, blah, 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 blah. I'm coming out with a kids book series with my son as the main character for brown children, for melanated babies, to address these very, very issues that, you've touched on. So I hope I wasn't rambling, and I hope I answered your question.
Only thing is, I came up with like 5 questions while you were talking, so I'm trying to remember all of them. But one specifically that I can remember was how are you handling? Because I have a struggle with improving my community, but also making sure my kids and my family get the best life as possible. And what I mean is, I'm like, should I want him to go to a public school or do I want him to go to a private school? His people look like this, but he'll get the best education here. And it's a mental battle that you go back and forth because you want to provide the best life possible, but how do you know which one is the best life possible? Because like you said, you need that importance of a HBCU, but you also need to make sure you having all the resources that the predominantly white colleges get too. So it's like a balancing act of like, oh gosh, I don't. So now I'm just going with the flow.
No. I feel you. One of the things I've actually been praying about or been speaking. This is so crazy. So I think it's important. This is just me personally. I think it's important, especially after my son came to me and said, Ma, I just want to be around people that look like me. I took him very seriously when he said that. So my goal is to move next summer. When I purchase my home, is to move next summer to a space where he can experience Blackness or Black excellence, and get that, feel of, okay, these are my people. Because it does make a difference. I understand where he's coming from. It makes a difference. And I want him to get that, but I want him to get that from, how do I say, like from a healthy place, if that makes sense.
No, I get you.
I'm not gonna put him in an area where kids are gonna bully him and whatever. Because I was born and raised in Atlanta, so
Zone 6?
huh?
Was it Zone 6?
It was Zone 6, actually.
Listen, that's the only part I know that is really like.
No, I was born and raised. It was actually Zone 6, Adamsville, is where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And kids can be. I mean, kids are different these days. Kids are more sensitive. We see kids killing themselves because they have access to the internet to determine how to kill themselves. That's mind blowing to me. We'd never heard of that stuff when we were growing up, honestly. But now kids like can't take it. When back in the day, joning, or roasting each other was just what it is. It was a rite of passage.
Right, it was a part of it.
Together, and then so I know I don't want him. My son wouldn't make it.
Mine wouldn't either.
Yeah, my baby wouldn't make. I love my son. Like, that is my angel on earth. He has been here before. I don't know what the call is on his life, but I always ask God, like, Lord, help me to nurture it. His father and I both help us to nurture it and lead him in the manner that you want him to go. Because he's a little gift, and I don't know what it is about my son, but he's damn near perfect. I don't know, and I'm not just saying that because I'm his mom. Like, he really is like. You're a perfect child. Like, you're amazing. You're just wonderful. But anyhow, he would not make it in the schools I went to. He just would not. So my goal is to get him in a space of balance where he can receive excellence, but also be around his people at the same time. And I'm praying on that because Atlanta is also a place of a lot of fakery and keeping up with the Joneses and stuff. So I don't want him to get into all that. I feel like he has to be a certain way and portray a certain image. Like, I'm like, Lord, help me to find that, that proper space for him to grow and nurture in. And being in Atlanta, to me, is tricky. Like, if we were in DC, I feel like it would be easier. But being in Atlanta, it's just this whole image thing. For me personally, that's why I don't even live in the city now, because it's just too much. Like, I hate the whole everybody's lying about who they are just to for Instagram, whatever. I cannot put my finger on it, but it's a fakeness to an extent. It drives me nuts. I'm like, y'all, we can all breathe. We don't have to pretend. We don't have to. Okay, but whatever. But anyways, I say all that to say I get exactly what you're saying. I went to an HBCU for undergrad, but for my master's degree, I went to a PWI. However, I would not ever change going to an HBCU first for the world. It's that balance, man. The balance is so, like, you gotta be around your people. And that's just how I feel. Like, you gotta have your foundation laid with your people, so that you can know how to move later.
No, that's true. And navigate in these certain environments. And with him being a young man, I always worried. Like, I was able to grow up in a certain area in Philly, but then I was also able to start reading and starting to searching for truth and gaining knowledge and stuff like that. So I'm able to wear my dreads and go into certain hoods and I can fit in. But I could also go into the corporate room and still talk with some good vocabulary and talk and have those same conversations with people. But I know with him, if I take him in the wrong place, that he's going to look like somebody that they can pick on. And like I said, I always think about, we want the best for our communities, that the ones that are struggling, but we strip the people that could probably change them out of it and take the best of ourselves out of those communities. And then no wonder why it's only a certain type of people there. So I balance with that, but like you said, like, you just gotta find a way to curate both. The way I'm starting to do it is, unfortunately, you have family members that aren't able to make it out of those communities as well. So I figure you spend a couple hours around your cousin, you get a taste of what it'll be like, and they'll rough you up or they'll teach you some of the stuff, and then you'll be able to grow in that manner.
That, that's so funny. That's exactly how I knew my son would not be able to survive. And I don't have the answer on how to make that different. But when he was around certain family members of mine, and their kids, and I love them to death, but they were just, doing what I've seen kids doing growing up, being rough, you know, all this other stuff. My son literally, because he can articulate himself very well, he said, "Mommy, ooh, these kids are rough over here." They were just playing and, you know, just rough house. And when he came out, I said, "Mommy, these kids are too rough." Like, for real. I'm like, okay. And that, to me, that was a duly noted. My baby not ready, honey. And it's not that I've sheltered him. It's just that he's grown up in a certain area. I don't know. I think that's an excellent question. Like, how do you find the balance of wanting better? Or should you even feel guilty for wanting better? But better does not mean in a white space.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That's not what better means. And I don't want that to be misconstrued to our listeners in any way. But I don't think we should feel guilty as parents for wanting better and, you know, for not, okay, well, I grew up this way. I don't want my kids to grow up. I want them to have more ease, you know, as they matriculate through life and so forth and so on. I want there to be more ease and whatnot. I don't think we should feel guilty as parents. Like, dang, these kids are still growing up this way, you know, or still have it like this. And my kid is different and he wouldn't be able to survive, you know, in this particular space. And it's like, but don't we, you know what? Hold on. I think it's coming to me. Maybe it's we as parents across the board, no matter what the upbringing was or whatever foundation that was set, we decided to make a change, right? It's up to others to get into that same frame of mind. But then this goes back to my platform. When it comes to our community, I feel like healing is so needed, but there has to be a willingness to want to heal, right, as well. Because if everyone start waking up and seeing that, you know, I can do more and better for myself, and knowing that it was possible, say, well, this is just how it's been. Going back to generational, so this is just what it is. We always grew up like this, and this is where we at. You know, like, you know, some people still rep certain projects
that they don't own.
Yeah, like they still. Oh, I'm not gonna name them down here. If you remember, like, you know, the ones. Oh, I'm whatever homes all day. And it's right. First of all, those are torn down now. And why are we still repping that particular apartment complex? And it's abandoned, it's torn down, it's whatever. But people still hype that life up, and it's like they don't want to see beyond it, so they're still even repeating a lot of the same stuff that their family members in. And it's like somebody has to, and everybody collectively has to say, you know what, let's do better. Let's start, you know, making certain moves to where we all want better. So then it's not such a contrast, you know, with, do you get what I'm saying?
No, I got you.
But I feel like that's a healing situation.
That's time.
You know, that is a healing situation. And I see, because even us doing this interview together, I see many of us who are waking up and seeing what's needed. And even by us doing this interview is planting a seed in our community. But it's a collective effort of healing. But that's what my books are for. That's what you're doing is for. That's what all of us who are on this same wavelength of doing better, that's what it's all about, and planting these seeds and kind of directing the course, because there's so much trauma from slavery. Because I broke that down in my first book as well. There's so much trauma from slavery that has been passed down in our families. The poverty, the mindset of poverty. And I talk about how that's a generational curse in itself. The mindset of lack, which is a generational curse. You know, so many different things can be a generational curse without you realizing it, because you feel like, well, we never had nothing.
Yep.
Well, change it. But people feel like, I can't do nothing about it. Or just like with certain things, well, my one, you know, or whatever ain't gonna change nothing. Yes, it will.
It does.
It's just a drop in the ocean, okay? But how many drops to have the ocean though? Like every drop. But do you get what I'm saying? Do you get where I'm going with this? So I just feel like healing is the answer, and Black people, I feel, are moving in the right direction, but those that are still on this wave of, oh well, they have to, if we just all come together and all just stop, even this collaboration, I feel is important, because there are many who feel like, man, I ain't working with nobody else. I'm not doing this. No, collaborating and coming together as a community and bringing our gifts and talents together for the better, and to sow these good seeds and to show people, hey, it's okay to talk about mental health. It's okay to get the healing that you need in whatever capacity that looks like for you. Even though I'm an advocate for therapy, you know, I'm also an advocate for transparency and realness, like through my platform. Like, get whatever you need to unlock and get yourself unstuck from these toxic cyclical patterns that are in your life. And I feel like that's really the answer. Going back to what you originally asked about how do we find that balance as parents.
I'm glad you circled back, because I had something else I wanted to talk, because I feel like we were moving away and I still want to go that direction. But
no, we back.
You're good at what you do. But as far as like, do you ever feel like you're stripping them? Because mind you, these are all my mental struggles that I'm talking about too. So I'm pretty sure as a parent, you probably felt it as well. What makes you is the things that you went through. Mm-hmm. So do you feel like you're stripping them of their struggle, that which will make them successful? You get what I'm saying? Like, you know how privileged kids, they don't have that type of, you usually have that power when you went through something. And if you've never gone through nothing, like, how do you really obtain that type of power without suffering a little bit?
This goes back to communication, I feel. For example, my daughter, I'm going to use my baby girl as an example. My baby's 2. She's going to be 3 on November 30th. That is my spunky pie. Mm-hmm. The definition of spunky is just, she outrageous and just, but you know, I see it as a positive thing, because she's literally me. And it baffles me when I watch my daughter. Even yesterday, before they went with their dad, and I'm just watching my daughter, and I'm like, baby, you are me. Like, that assertion, everything about her is me. And I always say, you ain't even been through that, little girl. Why are you like that? And I realized that even in genetics, she has my entire personality. Like from the outgoing spirit, my son is more laid back and chill like his dad. But my daughter, she has my personality all day. And even though, you know, she hasn't struggled and won't struggle, I just feel like leading by example and keeping that door of communication open. But she's already like me as a toddler. And it's crazy. Me and my mom, we laugh about it all the time. Like, she's you. Like, she is you. Like, the way she speaks, and she doesn't take no for an answer on things, and she's persistent. She's resilient. At 2, she is all those things. And it's like, girl, where you come from? Why you like this? So, like, what you ain't been through? I always tell my daughter, you hadn't even been through that, little girl. Like, relax with your aggression and assertion. And, you know, tease my baby girl, but I realize it's just, I passed it through her through DNA, my personality. And, you know, I just say all that to say, communicating. Even, I'm not even where I want to be in this moment, but I know I will be there. And I communicate to my son, even though it probably doesn't make sense to him now. I know later, like, oh, that's what my mom was talking about. Like, when I had to sneak away and do interviews, or when I would be slaving and I'd be in my book writing process. I tell my son every reason why I'm doing what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I communicate that to him. Okay, because mommy went through X, Y, and Z, this is why I'm so adamant about doing what I'm doing now. So even though he's not experiencing the struggle firsthand, he's seeing the determination to not be in that struggle. He's seeing that, and that is what I want to inspire him and to create a hunger in him. And we, you know, the way his father and I raised them, we're not having bratty kids. So I feel like that's a way to also ground them as well, so they don't have a sense of entitlement. Because some people, when they have kids, oh, I want them to have everything I didn't have. So you buying them a bunch of shit. Excuse me. I'm cursing.
You can curse. Go ahead.
Okay, but you're buying them a bunch of crap or whatever, instead of teaching them. what it is. Like, dang, if I was their age, this is what I would have wanted to know. Or if that, when I was their age, these are the things that would have meant the absolute most to me, as far as communication is concerned, as far as knowledge is concerned. That's what I focus on. And even without them going through the struggle and having those open conversations with my children, I feel like that is what creates the proper foundation, minus the struggle. You don't have to struggle in order to get what you need from your parents. I think it's just the open communication about, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why, this is important. This is why I feel mental health is important. This is why I have you say affirmations every single morning, because I never want you to not know who you are. I never want your value to be tied up in what someone else thinks of you, because you already know it for yourself. My cousin did a test on my son a few weeks ago, and she was like, Carson, are you the smartest kid in your class? And he was like, actually, I am. And looked her dead in her eyes and said, I am. But my cousin said, she was like taken back. She was like, I was just saying if he was going to flinch. He was like, no, so-and-so smarter than me. But it just, the stuff we think doesn't matter. And doing those affirmations and me constantly telling him who he is and constantly pouring love and telling him how much I love him, things like that, so forth and so on. I don't want my children to grow up in the manner that I did, with an emotional disconnect to their parents. We tell them we love them so much, it gets on their nerves. and not just in words, but in action. Like, baby, I love you so much. You are the most handsome little boy I've ever seen in my entire life. You are so special to me. I am so proud of you. I see how hard you're working in school, and you're so incredibly smart and intelligent. I couldn't ask for a better son. You're so this, you're so that. Why? Because I see the damage. Oh, I'm so glad you asked this question. Let's go. So I see the damage that has caused me in my life, and having to fix my childhood mentally, or try to make peace with my childhood and what lacked there. I never want my kids to go through that.
100%.
I never want them to experience that struggle. And I'm talking just strictly on the mental health piece.
Right.
Not even, the material piece, just the mental health piece alone. I never want my kids to have to figure out, did my mom love me? Did she not love me? I know she was there, but she never ever said it. She never hugged me. She never did this. She never did that. But I know she was at work all the time. But back in the day, it was, well, I work and I love you. You got lights. You got a roof over your head. Blah, 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 blah. No, there's still that emotional piece that is seriously missing. Yes, I understand being a provider and doing what you got to do, especially whether in two-parent households or single-parent households. How much do we hear that? Oh, you got a roof over your head. You got whatever. I do love you. I show you love by going to work every day. No. Kids need more. Like, I ended up having to I was ridiculously independent as a child because my mom was always at work. And even though my grandparents were raising me, I still had to do a lot on my own and figure stuff out. This is how I'm like DIY everything now, because I'm like, look, I'm gonna figure out how to get it done, because that's been my whole thing since I was a child. Why?
Right.
Because unintentionally, my mother neglected me emotionally as a child because she worked so much. And because she was trying to do, what she had to do for us, which I don't fault her in any way, but because she didn't receive emotional support, that was normal to her. So it's like, okay, I'm taking care of you. I remember, like, I would have to beg, like, mommy, hug me. Just give me a hug. Like, it's certain things that kids need. And that hurt me so much. And I didn't realize it until just peeling back all of these layers. And writing my books has also been therapeutic, as God showed me stuff as I was writing. But just realizing, dang, even the little small stuff that is seemingly insignificant impacts you the most. I'm not raising my kids to have to unpack their entire lives. Nah, I'm raising them as whole human beings, as God leads me to do, as best as I can. I'm trying to raise whole human beings, so when they become adults, they can worry about being adults. As they're teenagers, they can just worry about teenagers. As they're adolescents, they can just worry about being an adolescent and not all the other, like, trying to figure out, oh, dang, why all this stuff happened. No, because I'm answering it for them as it comes. I'm discussing it constantly as it comes in great detail. So then they're never being left to jump to their own conclusions or to wonder about anything. So no, I don't want them to struggle. I struggle severely emotionally. And like I said in the beginning of this interview, now at 31, this is the most I've ever loved myself. This is the most secure I've ever been in my entire life. That's crazy for me to just now be at a place of self-love, of full security, and just all things healthy about me. It shouldn't have taken that long, but I've spent the last 5 years unpacking everything with my childhood and trying to make sense of it and trying to heal from all of those things. I want my children to be continuing our legacy when they're my age. I want them to be concerned about how can I make things better in my community and for the world. That's what I want them to be concerned about, not having to continuously unpack as I have. So now I don't want them to struggle.
No, listen, like I said, I worked through these thoughts in my head. So some of the same conclusions you just came to is the same thing I said. Life is already hard enough. Mm-hmm. So packing on that, a bunch of other emotional stuff that you have to go through and trauma and all of that stuff on top of regular life, it's like, no, I don't want them to go through that because you could suffer differently. Like it's all different ways of them things that or struggle differently. All of them different type of things. Like you said, with your parent, my mom was the same way as far as like, listen, I'm providing. I don't even remember the last time I gave my mom a hug. Last time she gave me a kiss. I don't remember none of it. I got so comfortable with that even within my relationship, when she wants to do certain things, it's like, I don't know how to receive that.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're going to be on this interview for like 2 hours. So much.
I don't know how to receive it, so I was trying to wait for it. So now I had to learn to accept it and acknowledge it, because even with like it was so awkward, and it was like I know it was because of me, but like you said, you don't even realize certain things being passed down to you, and you used to it. Like it's like, yo, I did this, like that's my way of showing you love, but like give me a kiss though, and I'm like, wait, that show you love too? Like, and it's
yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And then we see, and this is why healing is important, and this is why for my platform, and it definitely with my book specifically and with my blog and stuff, this is why I do what I do, because exactly what you're talking about, I've seen it, and even with my marriage, and because my second book is about my divorce, but not placing any blame on my ex-husband, but holding myself accountable to the things that I missed and overlooked, as we all do in relationships. But now I know to catch myself and pay attention to those gut instincts. And when I have those eyebrow raises, to pay attention to that and not let the butterflies and all that stupid stuff cloud my vision. But in my book, Your Facade is Showing, a divorcee's perspective on accepting relationship red flags the first time, I talk about those very things. Like, the worst thing in the world is to be with somebody who says, well, this is just the way I am. Because my love language is words of affirmation. So you shower me with words or write me a note or a poem or, put a sticky note in my car, be like, man, I hope you have an amazing day. You're so beautiful. Like, what? I'm good for like a month. Like, because the words of affirmation, that is my thing. And it's probably my thing because I wasn't affirmed growing up. Now, even though I've affirmed myself and I'm good, I still love,
nice to hear it.
I still love to hear that kind of stuff. And it's like my ex-husband, his love language was acts of service. And just going back to what you said, like, oh, I show you blah, 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 blah. And, your girl is like, hey, but give me a kiss, though. Her love language may be physical touch because it's 5 of them or whatever. So it's like we have to want to heal and step outside of ourselves, because if we don't, we won't be able to give nor receive love, as you said. Even with me, and I mentioned this in my first book, I was guilty when I was pregnant with my son. I didn't want my ex-husband to take care of me. That didn't even make, I didn't want him to take care of me. I was like, I'm pregnant, I need to be working. I don't want to live with you. He was like, it's kind of my baby.
Right.
You can move in with me.
Right.
We gonna be good. Like that's my baby. And I'm like, nah, but I need to be doing this, that, and the third. Cause I got my son, my God, I was so sick during that pregnancy. It was ridiculous. And I ended up having to move out of my apartment and move in with him. And I was beating myself up about it. But I was so used to doing things on my own because of the way I was brought up and raised that spilled into my relationship with my ex. And I didn't know how to receive someone taking care of me, because in my mind, when I've seen men take care of women, that means they had the right to beat the shit out of them, to demean them and everything else. So I had this very warped sense of, I gotta do it. I gotta take care of me. You can't take care of me, because without me realizing that's what it was in the back of my mind. But after unpacking it, I associated you taking care of me, meaning that you now have ownership of me. And I was extremely focused on nobody is gonna own me.
Right.
So all this misguided and misplaced emotion, like, nah, when he, after the baby's 6 months, I'm going right back to work and I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm doing this, and this, because I don't want nobody taking care of me. He'd be like, chill. I'm not holding nothing against your head. Like,
right.
Why are you being crazy? And I'm like, no, it's because I just need to take care of myself. I need to have my own. And he was like, and it created, now I feel I'm balanced. But before, I was so headstrong on things, I couldn't be soft, and receive when it was necessary to do so. Or I was so torn down that when I came across people that did compliment me all the time or whatever, or I couldn't receive it, I felt like they were lying.
Right.
That's sad.
Right.
And so all that stuff, again, it just goes back to healing and the willingness to change and the willingness to be held accountable so that you can be better than what your foundation was. Because there's always time to uproot what was and plant new seeds. And then after even planting those new seeds, weeds always pop up. So you got to maintain, constantly be on your maintenance, and in the fall, you got to start pruning to prepare for the spring blooms. And but that's how life is. It's an ongoing process of healing and just refinement and becoming better in everything and in all ways.
Constantly grooming. You constantly grooming yourself. Speaking of grooming, what's and like you said, we're gonna be here for hours, so I'm gonna try to wrap it up soon.
I know, right? Like, this is good. We're getting into everything.
Right. Grooming. What's some of the major differences? Because I never went to a HBCU. So what's some of the major difference that you noticed being in both HBCUs and PWIs that you noticed?
Nothing compares to an HBCU. I went to Shaw University, by the way. Shaw Youth. I'm class 2009, proud bear. Did you see Beyonce's performance at Coachella? Yeah, that's really what she encompassed HBCU. No, but seriously, no. Like, okay.
More mentally though, like as far as like did it stimulate? How did it affect your mental health in those ways?
I was being goofy. I actually cried about that performance. I was like, this is so Black. I love it. I was crying for real. But in all seriousness, with HBCUs, I got opportunities in undergrad that I would not have gotten had I gone to a PWI. For example, I had several amazing, well-paying internships while I was in college because I went to an HBCU and because of diversity and inclusion programs. Now, I know some people may be like, I don't want things to be given to me because I'm Black, blah, 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 but that helped me build my resume. And once I got out of college, it helped me to have a foundation, You see what I'm saying? Like, I heard more yeses because I went to an HBCU and I had the proper people backing me than I would have going to a PWI and been fighting and clawing my way through for white approval. Do you get what I'm like? That makes a huge difference. And I'd rather be able to at least get my foundation laid by going to an HBCU, because what we know about the black tax, right?
For real.
Twice as harder, you know, it'd be twice as good, all this stuff just to get half of the recognition and value. Like, why? To me, I feel like going to an HBCU removes that black tax. Like, you can breathe before you're being, you know, thrown out. Now, all HBCUs across the board, we can joke about it all day, have, you know, certain issues. Oh, financial aid office ain't never got nothing, you know, blah, 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 blah. But the value, I feel, as a Black woman, like, it just cannot compare. Even the family aspect. My closest relationships are people I went to college with. To this day, the people that I ride with, rock with, are people that I went, like, yeah, majority of them, I went to college with them. Like, those, you meet family there.
Right.
Your relationships with your professors, everything. It feels like a huge family, and that is something that is priceless to me. Just the nurturing that takes place at an HBCU is absolutely amazing, and it's completely different from just going to an institution where you're just a number and it doesn't matter. But at an HBCU, the focus is to make sure that you excel and that you do your best, and that you're prepared to do so, because the opportunities are there. Like, yeah, the parties and everything are amazing. Yeah, Greek life, blah, 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 all that stuff. Everything like that is absolutely amazing. But if you really, like, are there and take advantage of your career development centers and things like that, they have opportunities that can help you soar and that can allow you to lay your foundation. And I just would not have it any other way. If my kids choose to go to college, I'm not shoving college down their throat, because I'm focused on other things, because I see things are different now. But we can talk about that later. But should my kids want to go to college for whatever reason that they would want to, I would be encouraging them to go to an HBCU.
You gonna encourage them to join B5? What was Beyonce sorority at the Coachella?
No, I won't be encouraging them to join any. If they want to, they can do as they please.
I had another question, but I forgot it. The last question I usually ask everybody: what is your perspective on the state of mental health in the Black community today?
I touched on it a little bit earlier, how I feel like people are slowly waking up.
Right.
Because one
thing. Do you believe it's trendy or not? Or do you believe it's trendy, or is really people becoming aware? And
no, I think it's people really becoming aware. And even if it's a trendy thing, I prefer it be that than what it was growing up. And the reason why, just pray about it. Just pray about it. Nah, I don't need no counselor. I ain't going to see no therapist. I ain't crazy. I ain't getting put on. That's the bullshit that I heard growing up. That is horrible and toxic, but some people still live by that stuff to this day. I love God with all of my heart. I can't do anything without God in my life. Whatever people want to call him, universe, creator. Yeah, whatever your preference is. I cannot do anything without the Most High. However, as I also touched on, look, you can't pray away mental issues, but in conjunction with prayer, I urge anybody to I had to go to therapy. I was in therapy for two different things. I was in therapy for marriage counseling last year, and then I was in therapy when I realized my marriage was over, because I didn't want to kill nobody. And I knew that about myself. So I was like, you know what, girl, your anger is getting a little out of control. You are a mom. You may need to go talk to somebody. No shame in that. I'll tell anybody every day, yeah, I was in therapy. And if I ever feel like I need to go again, I'm going immediately to therapy, because my mental health and my sanity, my peace is worth everything. I don't care. And going back to it being trendy, if people are like, dang, I guess therapy is okay, I'm gonna go to therapy too. Good. Good. Get all the help that you need. If you feel it's trendy to get help, I welcome that completely, because we've made strides before in our community. Man, I ain't going to no therapy. Going to therapy was associated with you have lost your mind and you are crazy. No, therapy doesn't equal that. Sometimes you just need a tune-up. Sometimes you just need to tune up on making sure that you're good and that you're straight. That doesn't mean that anything traumatic has to be going on. It's just, what? Even when I get married again, that will be my last marriage, my second and final. We just gonna die together, whoever it is. I need you to know that. But anyways, we'll go to marriage counseling just to be going. Just from time, like maybe every 6 months. Oh, let's going marriage counseling just to tune up. Make sure we don't have anything underlying, that we're not sleeping under the rug, and just have that mediator there just to work through, or just to get tips on how to continue the good health of our relationship and things like that. I think it's awesome, and I think it's amazing the direction that we're moving in, because what was once a closed-minded and shut-off topic, now people are opening up to, and realizing, okay, we can do therapy. All right, let me check on my strong friend. That sort of thing. Even though I'm tired of saying it, check on your strong friend. That I'm tired of. But it's getting in people's minds like, dang, the person that I think has it all together, that keeps it all together, they need, let me let them know I love them. Hey girl, I'm thinking of you. I try to do that as much. When people come to my mind, I try to reach out to them as much as possible. Or just, hey girl, I'm thinking of you. Whatever. I always try to do that, just because again, mental health is important, and the people in your life are important. And again, it's going to take a village for us to come out of this as a collective effort. But I love the direction that we're moving in, and even what we're doing right now is, just another little push forward to get people to think about, well, damn, maybe the stuff I have been accepting is continuing a toxic and cyclical pattern. Maybe there is something that I can do about it. Maybe I do need to change, especially our conversation earlier about upbringing and struggle. Like, dang, maybe I don't have to stay stuck and feeling like this is my life and this is what it is and this is how I have to be. Maybe I can start moving in another direction for the betterment of myself, for my family, the people after me, and ultimately my community. So
hey, that's a phenomenal way to close it. You can follow her. I'm gonna put her information up on. It's gonna be either up here. It's gonna be up here actually. The editor usually, mine's will be over here. Hers will be up there over top of her head. Get in touch with her. You can see she's very open and very relatable. Buy her first 2 books. Is it 2 so far?
2.
But get both of them. They're on their website. I'm sure that you can follow, get a link to contribute and support. And remember that this platform has never been about replacing therapy. It's a place where people share therapeutic stories. Thank you for listening.